Hi all, let's continue learning Hibernate the hard way. So today, before going ahead with the next chapter and next topics, I would like you to quickly show the overall architecture of Hibernate, and I feel that might help understand what is the flow and how should we write it. So these codes are written, but there are other ways also. This is a very functional way of writing it, but there is other object-oriented way also of writing it. So I think you should know it. So coming to the Hibernate architecture, so there is this is the architecture that you should keep in your mind and you should remember it. Basically it will definitely help you out, understand Hibernate in much better way. So first thing is like configuration, like we create a configuration either from within a Java file itself, or it could come from some XML, and it could be some properties files also. And it has the information of mapping classes and database connection which it is connecting to. So if you have like multiple databases connections, then you should make different configurations or files in your system. And there is this session factory that we create from configuration, and from that session factory we either open a session, this will open a new session, and if we do a get current session, it will pick the existing session. And then there is this transaction that we will go into this deeper, but for now you can just remember this will help you out understand it much better way. And this query and criteria are just the way of doing the CRUD operations like querying or updating or anything. So yeah, that is the overall architecture. So let's go into the code. So this was the code that we had written. So here this is the one way of writing session factory, creating the instance of session factory, but it should be singleton. And yeah, these are auto closable, so it is giving us the warning like it should be closed properly, else it might keep open if some exception happens. So if we say like session factory in transaction, so this function is basically a functional way of writing it, but internally it also opens a session. If you go into its implementation, you would see that like I will just do sorry, yeah. So in session this function is called, so if you see, this is doing a open session, right? So it ultimately calls this method internally, so to create the session. But there is another way of writing it, like session factory dot get transaction, get session or get current session, or open session also is one way of writing, right? So and from that session you can begin a transaction, begin transaction. So this will give you an instance of transaction which you can, after some persist operations, you can commit on the transaction dot commit, right? So by default it should be not committed, because if some exception happens, it should if you have like multiple queries, for one query it is not that informative or efficient, but for multiple queries, if you face an exception, you should be able to roll back your current transaction. So that's how this instance is. So you should keep in mind this architecture and it will help you out. So other thing is like there are different ways of writing this configuration. So first way I have written like using this configuration. So we will see this later in our lectures, but yeah, this is this code I have written, like all way of writing it, and most of the ways, and it is coming actually next in our topics. So yeah, so what they're suggesting is like rest of the chapter is not compulsory, but if you want to learn more, like you can always dig deeper. So they are showing this concept of entities. So entities are just it represents database, relational database, and also these are the central players. So it doesn't have lot of business logic into it. It has business logic, but what they are suggesting here is you should not add a lot of framework related entities or beans inside this. Like there are framework related object that you should not add within any entity and do other operation. It should be concerned about just the Hibernate related operations only, basically persistence and all those things. So this is it, like what they're suggesting, like entity may compute totals and average, but if necessary, but it is also not that recommended. But it should not basically do an orchestration, it should do some business logic, that is fine. Then there is this concept of active record. Active record is basically, just adding a DAO, merging of DAO and uh, a repository and entity into a single object. That is the, like, most of you can do from merging, to logic perspective. Else you can just keep it separate, but it's up to us, like how we want to implement it. Then so yeah, I hope you got the idea of active record. Active record is just merging the responsibility roles of DAO and responsibility. Yeah. So other thing is like stateful and stateless session. So in Hibernate we do have like stateless sessions also. So but in JPA it doesn't have it. So if we see here, configuration, we have this current session, right? And so instead of this open session, uh, we can also do session factory one dot get, let's say state. So we have open stateless session. So this is a stateless session. Basically, this is only present in Hibernate, not in so that not in JPA, but in next version of JPA they are promising they will have it stateless session, because yeah, they agree that they messed up there, and they didn't give enough focus to stateless sessions. Yeah, pretty much that is it about a stateless session. Basically, these sessions, what they do is like, this is about a persistence context. So persistence context is like, in overall, you can, very vague way, you can think of it like a cache of data. So whenever you open one session and open one session and you do some persistence, then you will have this current transaction will have some memory of like whatever data it has read, whatever data it has inserted, so all those things. So if you know if I show you something like copy, I am doing some, let's say I have copied it, and you have some object. So this persisted object, if we pass in here, then in the current context, if we have some logic to generate the ID, then it will have the ID post persist. So that is what it is about the persistence context. And in a stateless session we don't have persistence context, and that's totally fine to use. That is something we can leverage in while using Hibernate, but not in JPA. But in next version of JPA they are saying they will introduce that also. Yeah, and then this is about the organizing the persistent logic. So we can go there in the next lecture. Thank you all.